Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Going over my cheat sheet for today's early MLB slate for today on DraftKings. If you're looking for the late main slate video, I posted that like 2 videos ago. It was last night. So if you're looking for that, I'd recommend watching that after you watch this one because this slate starts in about 2.5 hours, so you don't have much time. Anyway, before we continue, if you could leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out, and I really appreciate that. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. And let's just dive into today's slate. So it's not my favorite slate in the world. I will say that. Not very good in my opinion, but it's what we had to work with. So at pitcher, I'm liking Trevor Bauer at 10,400, Framber Valdez at 5,500, and then Cole Hamels at 9,300. So let's dive into the pitching sheet to see why I like the guy that I like. And this pitching sheet might look like a mess to you guys because I've got both slates mixed in on here. So let me find my spot here. So we got Trevor Bauer, 10,400. Has he been great this season? No, he has not. He's been really hit or miss. He's given up like 8 runs twice recently, and he had a good game in between that. But I like his strikeout upside here, 27.6% strikeout rate. Now, 9% walk rate's not very good, and the 4.36 xFIP is not very good for someone priced in the 10K range. But I think it's an okay matchup versus the Cardinals. We like using right-handed pitchers versus Cardinals because they have a really right-handed heavy lineup. And if you look at their splits versus righties, they're not the best. They're not the worst either, but it's a doable matchup for Bauer, I think. They have a 23% strikeout rate, 158 team ISO, 306 team WOBA, and an 87 WRC+. Plus. These numbers are a little average to below average, so I don't think Bauer should have too much problems here. I will say he's really expensive. He's going to sacrifice some bats, and I think Cole Hamels gives a similar upside. So let's talk about Cole Hamels here. He has a 4.26 xFIP this season, 22.3% strikeout rate. He's been very good. His past 2 games versus Milwaukee, he scored over 20 points, I believe, each time. So I do like that. The wind's blowing in a little bit in Chicago, which gives him a little boost. It's not blowing in a ton, not like 20 miles per hour or anything, but I think it's like 8 miles per hour. It's coming in kind of diagonally down, not down, in. So adds a little bit boost to him. The Brewers have the lowest implied run total of the slate. It's around 3 something. So I do think he is in play here. If you look at the Brewers splits versus lefties, if I can pull it up, they have a 23% strikeout rate. Not the best. 193 team ISO. Not the best for Cole Hamels. 321 team WOBA. 102 WRC+. Plus. These numbers are actually not too bad. Or, am I looking at the right one? 95 WRC+, plus 321 team WOBA. Yeah, so. Is not the best matchup in the world for Cole Hamels, but a lot of their best hitters are lefties, and they have a lot of guys that platoon split when they face lefties, so guys like Hernan Perez, Manny Pena, but still, I think it's a fine matchup. It kind of neutralizes guys like, well, it doesn't neutralize Christian Yelich, that's pretty much impossible, but then you got Mike Moustakas, all those kind of guys, so I think this is a nice matchup for Hamels. He's only 9,300, he offers you 900 savings off of Trevor Bauer, and I think he's got similar upside, so do like Cole Hamels. I think he's a safe play. And then if we're going to spend down, which we're going to have to if we want to afford some bats, I like Framber Valdez at 5,500 going up against the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, is he the best pitcher in the world? Absolutely not. Is it the best matchup in the world? No, it's not. But why do I like him? Just the way this slate is. We cannot pay up for Bauer and Hamels and like our lineups. We want some bigger bats in. Valdez is a favorite, and that's all I'm really asking for, 5,500. Just get me 10 points, and I'll be happy. He's got a 4.2 xFIP this season, which isn't terrible. 20% strikeout rate, which I do like. 12% walk rate's kind of gross, but he does have a 61% ground ball rate, 17% fly ball rate, so he's keeping the ball on the ground. I do like that. The Blue Jays aren't the most intimidating team in the world, but they're not an easy matchup like they were earlier in the season. They got Vlad Guerrero now. What's his name? Bo Bichette. So obviously that hurts, but I think it's an okay matchup. He should get you the win here if he can go deep enough. Even if he doesn't, just get 10 points and get out of there. He's going to be the chalk pitcher on DraftKings just because of that price, and he's going to allow you to fit in pretty much all the bats you want. You know, and I think that's just the way to go. Anyway, let's get into the bats now. So we have Gary Sanchez at 4,400 versus Homer Bailey. Homer Bailey, he is not the gas can he once was a couple seasons ago or in last year, but he's still hittable. I mean, it's not the best match for the Yankees, but the way the slate is, they're one of the best stacks on the slate, just the way it is. He's only 4,400. Gary Sanchez has crushed righties this season. He makes sense to me. Wilson Ramos, 3,900 versus a lefty, and Jason Vargas. Wilson Ramos has an elite contact percentage versus lefties this season. Vargas does give up power to righties. Ramos should be able to put the ball in play. He's only 3,900. I think he's a pretty safe play. And I know I said I like Cole Hamels, but Manny Pena is only 2,900, and he's cheap if you need to punt the catcher position, and he offers upside as well. At first base, we have Pete Alonso at 5,100 versus Vargas. Like I said, I'm going to like the power righties here for the Mets, and obviously Alonso is the best one out of them all, and one of the best in the league. Then Matt Olson, 4K versus Domingo Germán. So Germán's got a good strikeout percentage, but he does give up power to lefties. Matt Olson makes some sense that you got that short porch in Yankee Stadium. So at only 4K, I don't mind using him. And then Joey Votto at 3,600 versus Dakota Hudson. Hudson has an elite ground ball rate, and he's got some pretty tough numbers all around when it comes to righties. But to lefties, that's where we can attack him, and Joey Votto would qualify for that. He should batter on second, so I think Joey Votto's in play if you need a cheap first baseman. Second base, one of my favorite plays is Josh Van Meter for all the same reasons I said I like Joey Votto above. Now he should be leading off, and I do like that. So I'm a guy who plays Josh Van Meter a lot, so he's a core play for me on this slate. Then Derek Dietrich, again, for the same reasons as above as the next two guys, but he has a much lower batting average, so he's a little bit riskier. He's kind of a boom or bust guy, but he's got some power in his bat, not a ton, but... Then Jose Altuve, 5K versus Clay Buchholz. Buchholz absolutely sucks versus lefties, but he's not like really tough on righties either. So I think Altuve's in play. I think the whole Astros lineup's in play. Third base, we got Toro at 2,600 versus Clay Buchholz. As long as he's in the lineup, he's a lefty versus him, and he makes some sense at only 2,600. It's some nice salary relief there. J.D. Davis, 4,300, just another righty versus Jason Vargas. Should hit decently high in the order. And then Alex Bregman, just another power Astro bat versus Clay Buchholz. And then at shortstop, we got Didi Gregorius, 4,200 versus Homer Bailey. I do prefer the lefties versus Bailey, and Didi's really cheap. And that short porch in Yankee Stadium, maybe you can get a cheapy home run. Wouldn't mind that at all. Gene Segura, 4K versus Steven Matz. Segura's got some massive splits versus lefties this season. He's been crushing them really well. Steven Matz has been pretty good recently, so I don't love picking on him. But if I'm going to one-off a Philly bet, I don't mind it being Segura. And Gleyber Torres, he's been crushing this season, 4,600 versus Homer Bailey. The Yankees' prices are all reduced, and they got one of the highest implied totals of the slate, so I think there's inherent value there. And then in the high-end outfield, we have Yordan Alvarez, 5,400. If I like the Astro lefties, I have to like Yordan Alvarez. He's got power for days. Clay Buchholz sucks versus lefties. They don't have the best bullpen in the world. He makes some sense to me. Aaron Judge, 4,900. Again, these Yankee prices are really reduced, so I like the value we're getting with them. I don't know why JD's just right there. It must be a sign for tonight, but yeah, Aaron Judge, a little too cheap there. Really good versus righties and lefties. George Springer, 5K versus Clay Buchholz, just part of the whole Astros stack. Not one of my core plays or anything, but I had to throw them on there. There's really not a lot of bats on this slate, so just had to fill them out. Mid-range outfield, Michael Brantley, one of my favorite plays on the slate. Like I said, Buchholz really struggles with lefties. Michael Brantley's elite versus righties, elite contact percentage. Should be able to put the ball in play, hopefully put one over the fence. Ryan Braun, 4,400, always like him versus lefties, but again, I don't really love the Brewers in this matchup. I'm much more interested in playing Cole Hamels. And then J.D. Davis, we already talked about him. In the value outfield, we have Josh Van Meter at 3,900 versus Hudson. We already talked about him. Lorenzo Cain's going to be leading off versus a lefty, and Cole Hamels, again, don't love their matchup, but there's limited bats on the slate. Jason Hayward, 3,800, leading off versus Zach Davies, who will struggle with lefties, doesn't have a really high K rate at all. And Seth Brown, 2,600, very cheap, and going up is a lefty versus Germán, where he gives up some power. And let's get into the top stacks and core plays for me. I got Framber Valdez at 5,500, Josh Van Meter at 3,900, and then Michael Brantley at 4,500. And the top stacks for me are the Astros, the Yankees, and the Mets. Alright guys, that's all I got for the video. Remember to leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out. I got some NFL videos already out. NASCAR's coming out around 4 o'clock. Very excited. I got my fantasy draft weekend coming up. I got my first draft at 8 tonight. Very, very excited. I got the 4th pick, so kind of in a terrible spot here because, you know, obviously Barkley's probably going to go first, then McCaffrey, then Kamara, so I'm kind of in a bad spot because I'm not picking Zeke. I drafted Le'Veon Bell last year, and I'm not doing the holdout thing again. I just got too much PTSD from that last season. So wish me luck. I'm thinking about either Hopkins, Adams, or I'm going to have to reach for a running back in Chubb and Connor. So not sure what I'm fully doing yet, but pretty excited. I'm sure you guys have a lot of fantasy drafts coming up too. So I wish you guys the best of luck in those. Wish you guys the best of luck on this slate and tonight, and I'll see you guys in the next video.